Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Ooh, welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 442. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Breaking news! The Boston Red Sox, in the most historic rivalry in all of baseball, hit it again, have just taken down, mere seconds ago, have taken down the New York Yankees in a 3-game series. They said it couldn't be done. They said it couldn't be done. I don't know why Nate decided to show up in a Yankees hat tonight, because he knew they were taking the L, but it's been done. The Red Sox have taken down the Yankees. They're headed to the World Series. The Boston Red Sox. We should have bet on this. I don't know why I didn't. I mean,
I tried to ask you. You said you were just still, hurting from the last bet, which is fair.
Do you see me? Look at me. What do you think? You tell me.
Ridiculous. Were you over it?
Dude, I was over it after like the second time. Which, by the way, I got called out. So the video or the clip that I pulled from last episode when we were talking about how, like, joking aside, that the Red Sox Yankees should not have been Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah.
And that it should have been O's Phillies. I took that clip, posted it, and somebody on Instagram was like, LOL, some guy dressed in all Oakland A's gear talking about how the Yankees and Red Sox should be Sunday Night Baseball. And I was like, buddy. Little do you know that I am a fan of one of those teams, and that I lost a bet to a guy who's a fan of the other team. And we both agree, we're on the same page, that this should not have been Sunday Night Baseball. But, actually, I'm kind of glad it was, because, man, what a way to round out the weekend.
Yeah, just enough to get me fired up.
Well, okay, look. The Mookie Betts news is headlining this thing, but I'll give you your space. That we've been doing this ever since we started this podcast. This is a safe space where Red Sox and Yankees fan, meaning you and myself, can come here after they meet and vent any and all frustrations. Sometimes these vent sessions are a little more elongated than others, but just air your grievances.
Yeah.
And then we'll get
Father's
into it.
Day, by the way. Any fathers out there, happy Father's Day. We're not fathers, so we're allowed to be pissed off today. At least one of us.
It's a shame. Well, no, I guess he was in the ballpark. Rafael Devers' son, Garrett Cole. I think he is with the team now.
You can just. I'm giving you this time.
What?
I'm giving you this. You're allowed to have this.
What?
You're allowed.
It was
to
a legitimate question.
You're allowed to have your mid-season trophy. You can take.
I don't like doing this, but I have to out you here. You said the minutes before we hopped on, you said this Yankees team is not as good as their record shows.
That's what I'm going to get into. And I'm not. Please don't. Everyone's going to think that I'm like the overreacting typical fan, but the truth is, like, I've maybe missed 2 or 3 games this year. Like, I don't miss games. And the Yankees team just isn't as good as their record shows. We've seen this. I feel like I've seen this movie before. I've read this script before. It's happened. Historic starts, historic starting pitching. You're lost in the sauce of stardom, and you ignore like some of the holes. And there's just like it. I said it before. I told you when we hopped on. If a team tries to play the Yankees the Yankee way, and the Yankee way is like let's go starting pitching for starting pitching. Let's go slugfest base to base baseball. Then it'll come down to our bullpens and we'll see who wins. And if you play the Yankees that way, you're more often than not going to lose. There's a few rosters out there that are I think better. And the Dodgers exposed this, a couple weeks ago, last week. It was hey, we'll play your way and watch what we can do kind of thing. And then you see other teams that maybe don't have the same kind of roster that just can't hang throughout a series anyway. What the Red Sox exposed is the fact that, like, if you play a different way, if you play, take that extra bag, take extra 90, steal bags, hit and runs, bunts, like if you play that aggressive, productive way, the Yankees cannot hang. They have holes. They have ways to be beaten. And I get it, like starting pitching, didn't look great. Like Rodon's looked good for the last 6-7 starts, and then, doesn't look great here. Same with Stroman. But like, look, first base is an issue. Rizzo's an issue. DJ LeMahieu's an issue. The bullpen is now an issue because this is what Boone does every year, is ready to pull the bullpen trigger over and over. So whatever. I'm not going to bore people with this. It is a venting session for me mostly than anyone else hearing it. It's just, I don't see it. Like I understand the numbers. I see the record being what it is. I'm not there. I don't feel like it's enough. And unless Brian Cashman is ready to plug those holes before the deadline, I don't see it being a good enough roster to make it all the way. And I think that is a dead philosophy anyway. We've seen it year over year. It's just about what team is hot and healthy when it gets to October. Then it's less about like how dominant a roster is. So if they can get hot and healthy in October, I'll eat my words. But overall, I don't know. I think I'm just becoming a typical depressed fan like everyone else for most teams that don't win often or in 15 years. Yeah. Half my life. Half my life. That's crazy to think about, by the way.
Yeah, hold on. Whoa.
Yeah.
Let's put that into perspective.
That's a different way of looking at it. Half my life I've witnessed this garbage.
Wow.
Yeah. Anywho.
Well, let's talk about somebody that's actually good at baseball. A team that's actually good at baseball. On some unfortunate news, however, joking aside, Mookie Betts. Tough, dude. Wrist fracture off a 98-mile-an-hour heater. You knew right away when you saw it, it was not good, and it was likely going to be one of those ones that you just couldn't shake.
Yeah.
So as it stands right now, the little that we kind of know of the situation, out indefinitely. You had mentioned that you had seen no timetable. I think that's all we really know at this point.
Yeah, this is Sunday night, everybody. It's June 16th at 10:30 Eastern. So you're probably going to wake up in the morning and listen to this, and you're already going to have more updates than we have, but it is what it is.
Well, I don't know how much it's going to change though, because they know at least right now.
I think we'll probably know by midweek. I think we'll have a timetable by midweek.
Well, timetable, but in regards to surgery, they've already apparently ruled that out. So yeah. That's at least good news for Mookie and the Dodgers. But as one of the favorites to win the NL MVP, this is certainly a blow that I don't even think the Dodgers can afford at this point in time, because like you're not losing a depth piece here. You're not losing a middle of the rotation guy here. You're losing one of the best players in baseball, and certainly one of the best on your team, and
having a heck of a year.
Like this isn't just run of the mill Mookie. We're talking one of his best seasons that he's ever, which is saying a lot, but one of the best seasons he's ever put forth.
You know what? We said we were going to be negative. In my mind, I thought I was going to be negative coming in. I think I'm going to look at the positive out of this. I think this forces the Dodgers' hand. I think it forces their hand to go get a shortstop. I think the experiment is done. I think, and obviously, like, the injury didn't happen because of him playing shortstop. This could happen whether he's in right or not. It's not what I'm referring to. I'm just saying the fact that, like, this just forces their hand. Like, it has been barely average defensive production out of him at short. And maybe there's some good that comes out of this. You know what I mean? Maybe there's some good of them going and, like, truly filling that hole. I think Rojas is on the IL at the moment, isn't he? I think Rojas is out.
No, I think he's in the mix to fill in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Miguel Rojas, either way, Miguel Rojas is not the answer.
Not the answer.
Kike Hernandez, not the answer.
Obviously, Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, like, these are not a everyday write-in thing. And even then, if we fast forward to Mookie being back, are the Dodgers going to be fully comfortable putting Mookie at short? There's some positive out of this. And I think if there's one thing to be like, hey, there's something good that's going to come out of it, I think it is that. But even then, the wrist thing is tough, man. Because, like, when wrists go, you hear, and it's not the same injury, but you hear a lot of people with the wrist injury that just don't ever really, like, fully get back to. We could go down the list. We could go down the list of names. Mark DeRosa talks about it all the time on MLB Central. The second that wrist injury happened, he just never got back to what he was. I watched it with Mark Teixeira. You saw it with Todd Frazier. You see it all the time. If that wrist injury happens, it's hard to come back from. So I think the hope is, if you're a Dodger fan, you're not going to replace Mookie numbers, but go get somebody to plug that hole, play short every day, so you don't have to rush him back. Let him take his time.
What do you think? I mean, I know I just got done summarizing what I would presume is the state of the Dodgers following this, because, again, that you're not losing a depth piece, you're not losing even run of the mill Mookie. You're losing
an MVP
candidate, possibly front runner based on who you're talking to. Like, what do we think this does for morale for a team like the Dodgers? Because you can sit there and say, well, this isn't a depth piece, this isn't run of the mill Mookie. But on the flip side, you've got a team that is, for all intents and purposes, stacked. And again, I'm still of the belief that they can't afford to lose out on a guy like Mookie.
Anybody could. And no roster could afford to lose him.
Sure, but we can assume that the Dodgers they're better positioned to absorb this blow.
I agree.
With that said, though, what do we think this does for morale at this point in the season? I mean, we're in the middle of June now. Now, knowing that we don't have a timetable, knowing where you're at in the standings, what the expectation coming into the season was, what does this do for morale? Because I feel like that's important as we get closer to the, for lack of a better term, the old cliche, the dog days of summer. As we approach that point, if it gets to that point, again, we don't know how long this will be. We don't know how long Mookie's going to be out for. I think any and all baseball fans should hope that it's as short as possible, unless you're a Padres fan.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Morale, though.
I don't know. I think it's a roster that's put together with a lot of vets and a lot of, like, end goal, team overall performance, selflessness mentality. It's hard to say next man up, because it's like there is no one that's going to fill the shoes. But I don't know. You have a lot of leaders there. You know what I mean? You still have a Freddie, and you still have guys that like have been around the block. You got a lot of guys that have been around the block. So, what is their cushion in the West right now? Without looking it up, I'm assuming it's double digits.
Now that we got the weekend in the books, they are 8 games up on the Padres.
Oh, it's better.
Padres are a game under 500 right now, heading into the week.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. Yeah, you got plenty of guys that'll step in and figure it out. What's scary is that like as they start all coming up, like coming back and showing up, like, you know, Kershaw, Muncy, I thought they had another arm. Didn't they have another arm that was set to come back in like August? I don't know. They have guys that are like trickling in.
Sorry, I just momentarily checked out because I had to make sure I had.
Sure you did. Sure.
Uh-huh. No. I realized as you were talking, I was like, oh crap, I don't have a player for name that player. So I had to pull up the selected players stats.
It's important.
Just to make sure I had them at the ready. But you were talking about arms, which
was there another name besides Kershaw?
Well, Yamamoto, which we were going to touch on here,
to
the 15-day IL. They're getting, I believe, though, I don't think it's a corresponding move because I think Yamamoto's already hit the shelf. But Bobby Miller is expected back this week.
There we go.
If that's who you're referring to.
And he's on my fantasy team. I don't know why I blanked there. But it's like these pieces that can slowly come back, and it is almost like a trade deadline move as each guy shows up.
You can't say that for a lot of guys or a lot of teams given their situations.
But these are big names. These are like impactful names. You know.
Yeah.
So they'll be all right. They'll be okay. But I do think this forces their hand a little bit more. And I know I said this, I don't know, probably a month ago that Willy Adames sounded like a good fit, but it just seems like the Brewers aren't going away. And I think it'd be like a pretty big slap in the face to their fans if they did sell Adames. So interesting to see what name will come in.
Maybe this forces the issue on Bo Bichette. Possibly.
It's already got a lot of blue swag. A lot of blue accessories that you can.
Oh no, I was watching a few Kevin Biggio ABs today. It literally couldn't tell the difference. I was like, oh, Blue Jays, Dodgers. Yeah. Same deal here.
Same
gear. Same gear.
This is just the year of the injury. I know we have them a lot.
It's insane.
These names are like, if you grabbed all the IL names and said this was the All-Star team for the year, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. These are All-Star caliber names going down, and a lot of them. Like,
ooh, that's a good idea. I might put together a little graphic, maybe the all IL team from the duration of this season to this point. I bet you that'd be a heck of a.
We're stacked.
Heck of a club right there.
We're stacked. It's, yeah, like total home runs or total strikeouts or innings pitched. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
I mean, there's probably maybe one or two like divisions that all IL team isn't leading in.
Right.
Like,
yeah. The Yamamoto thing,
go
I think the Yamamoto thing's just scary just because of all the arm injuries we've seen. All the names going down.
The workload conversation applies to him too, having come over from Japan. I did see, want to make sure I got the number right here. His start against the Yankees on June 7th. I think he threw 106 pitches that game, which was the fourth time he had thrown over 100. So it's something to consider when looking at that specific case. You got a guy who, still He's not exactly a young gun. Like he was over there pitching in Japan for a handful of years, so it's not like that's why the whole like rookie of the year conversation gets a little muddy, a little cloudy for some people because they're going, really? I mean, what are we talking about? This guy. Agree. So it's not like he doesn't have. It's not like he hasn't thrown the bullets already, but it's still a different philosophy, different workload, different approach that you have to implement, accommodate. And plan for looking ahead to a full 162 season. So
if this is a big one, if this is a big injury, I think this is going to affect decisions down the road, specifically dollar amounts.
Yeah.
Being forked over. This is an old school injury. This is a rotator cuff. This isn't an elbow. We're used to elbows.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing now. This is a shoulder, so hope he's all right.
Yeah, the rotator cuff news came out not too long ago. I think that was an update that we just received.
Yeah.
Earlier today.
Yeah. I hope he's all right. Baseball's obviously better with him in it, so just sucks, man. It's not surprising. If anyone's surprised, and it's just specifically referring to Japanese pitchers. You're not shocked. Anytime this news happens, you're like, yeah. It was just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. And it sucks because like I want that to be all done. I'm all done with that. I'm over it. Dodgers will be all right though. They'll be fine. It's hard for any other fan base to feel bad for them.
Speaking of feeling bad, probably not too many guys in baseball that feel worse right now than Jose Abreu. Getting released on Friday by the Houston Astros. And need we remind you, the Astros, if you're unfamiliar with this situation already, the Astros have decided to eat the $30.8 million that was owed to him over the remainder of his contract.
How many years left? 2?
Less than halfway through his 3-year deal. So that, I mean, what, a year and a half,
and change,
year and 2/3. That was a $58.5 million contract when he signed it.
I felt like the time down wasn't enough. It was like a week. They didn't send him down for long.
No, I mean I could have sworn. Oh, you're right. Wow, it was only 7 games.
That's what I'm saying. Like
I don't know why I thought I remembered it being more.
I just feel like that conversation had to be so difficult to have. And it's such a selfless thing because for those unfamiliar, we just looked this up before recording. Guys that have 5 or more years of service time can deny being sent down if they have options available. They can deny that. So him agreeing to that's a selfless thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's such a big pill to swallow for it to just be a week.
Well, a week's worth of games.
Really got corrected though.
Well, I was right. It because it did seem like it was longer. He was away for like a month, but he only had a week's worth of games. So he's only getting game ABs over the course of 7 games, but he had spent weeks beyond that, like in addition to those games, trying to fine tune the swing, work on mechanical issues, get his head right. So yeah, he was gone for like a month or so.
Really?
Yeah. Which is what I thought, and that's what I was saying. Like it definitely felt longer, but then you mentioned the 7 games, which is also correct. Like it wasn't. What
was he doing the rest of the time? Not
that's
playing?
What I'm saying. I think it was just mechanical corrections working. I don't know the full details, but that would be my guess. Is that like if you're away from the team for a month and you're only playing for one of those weeks?
I don't know. Like when you look at like oh my gosh. What is wrong with me? Big annoying dude for the Blue Jays.
Daniel
got sent
Vogelbach.
down. No, the pitcher that got sent down.
Alek Manoah.
Manoah. My gosh, what's wrong with me? The fact that we like can look at that and be like, you're going to need to really earn your way back up here. And I'm not saying that like Jose Abreu's struggles were as bad, but maybe they kind of were. Maybe they kind of were just as bad. Send him way down. You know, not 7 games in AAA down. Send him way down. And like, if it is AAA, fine. But like, leave him there until you start seeing a 800 plus OPS out of him. You know what I mean? Like, if that pill, that selfless pill is going to be swallowed, don't put like 7 games to it. This made national news. Like, this is a big deal. He's a world champion. He's a former MVP. To be sent down to like go figure that out, to only have 7 games to work with, I don't love it. I don't love the way it was handled. I'm not saying I disagree with the release. I'm not saying that his production warranted a second shot. I think that like give him more time to figure it out.
Well, to that point, I'd probably have to agree with you because we very well know, like if you've been following Major League Baseball, if you've been keeping tabs on what the Astros have been doing, especially to start the year, it wasn't good. But as we said, and not there are a lot of people that didn't want to agree with us. As we said, they've slowly started to creep back into the conversation. And I get it. They're only 9 games back. But I would venture to say that the Mariners' success that they've been seeing as of late probably isn't terribly sustainable. Like they're up 8.5 in the division. That doesn't sound like a very Mariners-y kind of thing to do.
Yeah, it's not that dominant of a team.
So give it more time. All that to say, they've been doing just fine without him. So like, what's the hurry in bringing him back?
That's what I'm saying, man. Like especially when you have that much money invested. It's just a weird timing and like a not enough time to make that decision. And maybe there's some things behind the curtain that we don't know. And I don't know. But does this like secure Pete Alonso to the Astros? Like, does that not just sound like the most picture perfect thing? Like a right-handed first baseman that you can plug in between Tucker and Yordan. I mean, because like, let's be real, Bregman isn't like a true 3-hitter. If you go straight up, and I don't write the Astros lineup, and I know they rotate because I watched Kyle Tucker lead off a few times. But if you go Altuve, Tucker, third spot, we'll leave blank for now. Yordan 4. Bregman feels like a 5-hitter. Based on this year, I think 3, like Pete Alonso at the 3. And then you really have a right, left, 1 through 5. And that's like a scary 1 through 5. Like that's a next level 1 through 5. And we're not Pete Alonso fans by any means, but a Yordan behind you with the Crawford seats, that man could cook. That man could do some damage there.
Here's the question. Where does Pete Alonso become, when it's all said and done, if he were to end up in Houston, where would he be more disliked?
Hated.
Hated. With the Mets organization who can't get out of their own way, or the very well documented, hated Houston Astros organization?
I think it's just both. I don't know if I can answer both.
Because you know he's taken the try hard way of going about things with him. Like he's not leaving that in New York. He's very, wherever he goes, he's taking that with him.
That's him.
For as long as he's in the home run derby, he's going to be doing deadlifts before.
Yeah.
Regardless if he's wearing a Mets hat or not. So that's an interesting question that I'd be curious to know the answer to when it's all said and done.
I don't know. It makes too much sense though. It makes too much sense.
I can see it. I can see
Does before we
see it.
move on, does Jose Abreu get another chance this year? And not minor league contract checking that box. I'm saying, do we see him?
Okay, there it
Do we
is. There
see
it is.
him in a big league uniform again this year?
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not signing to play right away at the big league level.
No,
so
he would have to work his way back.
so you're saying with the caveat of him signing, like checking that minor league deal box and then working his way back to the majors by season's end. That's what you're
does
saying.
that happen? Yeah.
Glad you mentioned it because I didn't want to have to. Didn't want to have to win that bet too.
Yeah, had to put in the correct.
Shout out Jorge
stipulations here.
Lopez. I don't know, man. That's gonna take some work.
Yeah.
And I know it's like still kind of early, but it's also kind of not.
I just don't think he has analytics on his side either. Like that, I think that's one of the big trouble. Like he gives me Hosmer vibes with
Dude,
less defensive ability.
The fall off was crazy though, dude. Like it,
Yeah.
like I it's
He's
really
also old. I think people forget he didn't come over until like 26.
He's 37 and a half. So we like that's what we know. We don't know for certain, but that's what we were told is that he's 37 and a half.
He didn't crack in until 27 years old, right?
2014, so that's 10 years
10 years?
ago, so 27, yeah.
He might be done.
The fall
I think
off
it's done.
The fall off was crazy though, dude. He won the MVP in the shortened 2020 season. But before that,
How many jacks did he have?
even in that season, he had 19
In 60 games. If
in
he played
60
every
games. He did. He played every game. So 19 jacks in 60 games. Actually had the most hits in the AL that year too. But by year, starting with his rookie year, 36 jacks, 30, 25, 33, 22, 33, and then 19 in 2020. 2021, he had 30. And then 2022 is really where I don't know. I don't want to say a dip, but he only had 15 home runs. He hit 304 though. And that was over 157 games. 2023.
So he's sturdy. He is durable.
He had, 2023 played 141 games, had 18 jacks, only hit 237. And then obviously this year has just been abysmal. I think
I don't feel like pulling up the numbers. I'm curious to see like if like off of fastballs, it's like, that's always kind of the old age tell.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with the average fastball. That's when we're going to move on.
He was hitting 124 before he got.
The biggest issue is the launch angle. I think that's the biggest problem. And that's what I mentioned, like the Hosmer vibes. It's like he's just not lifting the ball. It's so weird to me. It's just so weird to me that, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the greatest hitting coach ever, but it's weird to me that hitting coaches can't just be like, we need to change stuff. I need you to like move your hands to a different place. I need you to get rid of this hitch in your load. I need you to consider this. And it's weird how like unadjustable guys are. And I don't know if it's like a lack of athleticism. It's more so like a stubbornness. And I'm like, what? You're hitting like $150. What do you have to lose? Change something. And where is this hitting coach that's willing to be like, these are mechanics that we need to maybe try and find. This is the result we're looking for. Let's get those hands in a different place. Let's get our bat angle in a different place. Let's just change something. It's so weird to me that I don't know if it's a lack of like willingness for a coach to come out and direct that, or if it's more so a player being stubborn. But like I would love for, I don't know pitching that much, but like mechanically anyway, but like I would love for someone to be like, yeah, Manoah looks totally different now from what he was doing during his struggles. his hands are starting here versus here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough of a mechanical difference. And that's what I didn't see it. When Abreu came back up and he hit that double to right field, I was like, maybe he's back. But it looked the same. Didn't look any different. I don't know. Tough. I think he's done. He's old. He's old. But you get him for league minimum, so.
It's true. I think he gets one more shot. I mean, because again, the fall off was rough, but
I think it's going to be somewhere random.
Yeah. Well, that's
like the Tigers or the Royals or something.
Well, I don't think they're gonna want to acquire an aged corner infielder after the whole Mickey situation. I think they're still a little scarred from that. Yeah. But again, like I was saying, the fall off, granted, it was rough, but it wasn't exactly prolonged. Like, it wasn't drawn out. It was just like a steep cliff. So I'm wondering, to your point, like mechanically, if there's something.
That's what it makes you question.
Yeah.
The quick fall offs, it's like a mechanical thing.
Or a confidence thing. Yeah. As we've said before.
For sure.
Who really knows? Name that player.
Hall of Fame or no Hall of Fame?
No Hall of Fame.
Active or retired?
Active.
Debut before 2015?
No.
Afterwards. Okay. One team in that time?
One team.
AL or NL?
NL.
NL East?
No.
Central?
No.
NL Central. NL West?
Yes.
Rockies?
No.
Diamondbacks?
Nope.
Dodgers?
Nope.
Padres?
Yep.
Current player after 2015. Outfielder or infielder currently?
Infield. Your next comment has to be an answer.
Well, it's pretty much dropped down to 4 names for the most part. I'm trying to remember how far back Bogarts goes. I think he debuted before 2015.
You're not getting anything out of me, so don't try to weasel any info out.
Machado debuted before 2015, so he's out. So it's down to Ha-Seong Kim, Cronenworth, and Luis Arias. Ha-Seong Kim.
Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, man.
That was not bad. I did not track questions, but I think we stayed under 20.
I'd have to go back and count because you were ripping questions out.
I was ripping them out, but I normally don't. So I said,
for clarification purpose, you and I chatted, I think, after last episode, and we're like, we're not going to be like, you're just not going to be able to get 20 questions in.
Yeah, so too short of time.
We can just rebrand it. We'll just go name that player, keep it simple. So I think with that rename, we drop the question limit. So at that point, it's really just like ripping as many off as you can before the tune ends.
That's true. Either way, I think I stayed under. Hall of Fame or no Hall of Fame, active or retired, debut, AL or NL, NL East, Central, West.
And then you went through every team.
Dodgers, D-backs, Padres, infield, outfield. So like 13 questions.
Infield, outfield. Yeah. You're definitely under 20. 20 is a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'm proud of that one. That's a good name. That's a random good name.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if you'd hit me with an active guy. I will be honest though, the retired ones I feel like are harder.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad. I feel like I gave you, I think the last 2 or 3. How many have we done? 3, 2?
Yeah.
They've both been like
I gave you one that was retired.
They've been 90s era.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to make this a thing where we go 1-1 here, or do you just want me to spring this on you throughout the episodes? Because I don't want you to feel pressured.
What do you want?
I don't know. I feel like the people love a good game from
You
time
want to send
time.
it? You want to cue that music up?
Do you have a guy?
I got a guy.
You have a guy? Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. Whew. All right. Lock it in, Corwin. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Active or retired?
Retired.
Pitcher or position player?
Position player.
American League, National League.
American League.
American League East.
Yes.
Red Sox.
No.
Yankees.
Yes.
You said retired? Hall of Fame or no Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame.
You said position player, retired. Keeping track of these questions.
I know.
Yankees. You said no Hall of Fame. Retired.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Yankees, Hall of Famer. Retired. Position player. Infield, outfield.
Outfield.
Outfield. Yeah. Not. Oh shoot.
You got a big
90s.
group.
90s.
No.
Okay, that's good. I had to get that question before I got to beat the buzzer there.
You got a big group. You got a big
Yeah,
group
dude, come on. Hall of
choose
Fame
from.
Yankees, sick. That really narrows it down.
No.
All right, so let me just backtrack here. A position. Did I ask infield, outfield?
Mm-hmm.
What did you tell me?
Outfield.
No, I would have said outfield if you would have been difficult there. I was gonna just defer to outfield. All right, Hall of Famer outfield for the Yankees,
the
not
answer-
in the 90s.
Answer retention is a part of the.
I know, dude. That's well, it's harder when you just like ripping questions off. You're like, I don't remember what I said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Let's go the Mick.
No.
Let's go. Let's
Unbelievable.
go.
Unbelievable.
Let's go.
Good for you. That's
Thank
a
you.
big group to choose from. So
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You
sorry.
put me on the spot, and then you give me like the largest player pool, the largest Hall of Fame player pool that exists in baseball. Unbelievable. Anyway, all right, that was good. That was good. Speaking of another American League East team, the Baltimore Orioles had quite the aforementioned series that we alluded to, the Phillies and O's. O's take 2 of 3 this weekend after dropping a heartbreaker on Friday. Some were saying, I didn't say it necessarily, but I did see game of the year to this point. That might be.
It's a good candidate.
It's a candidate. I won't say for certain that it is, but it's.
I feel
it's
like
in that
rain
conversation.
delays kind of ruin it. Maybe it added to it for this one.
From what I could tell, it seemed like the crowd retention was like. Granted, I don't.
Do you remember how long the delay was?
That's what I was gonna say. I don't remember how long the delay was. I was having to watch on my phone. It sucks that these matchups fall on the weekend. I mean, it's nice because there's a good chance that you'll have the ability to watch them. But on the flip side, it's
weird,
like
though. You and I are weird. Like I'm more likely to watch during the week.
That's no, but that's what I'm saying is like you're safer to assume that like you're not gonna have those consistent commitments of like work and stuff. Like some people work on the weekends, I get it, but like you think, okay, well the weekend's here, I'll at least I think I'll have an opportunity. But then things come up.
You got
like,
husband duties, bro.
Yeah,
you got husband duties. Yeah.
You got like dinners with friends and stuff. So friends
There's always
and family.
a birthday. There's always a holiday.
And now we're at the stage where it's like baby shower and like seeing babies on the weekends and trips. It's crazy. But anyway, all that to say, the weekends are tough, especially in the summer. That's another factor here. A lot more stuff happens. So I had to watch again to reiterate. Had to watch on the phone. So I wasn't able to keep track very closely, but I told you that this was going to be a series to watch, and I made sure to watch it to the best of my ability, and it was a great series.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not if you're a Phillies fan, but I think there was a little bit of everything. There was a little bit of everything, including today, the game 3. We were talking about it before we hopped on. Zach Wheeler getting touched up, first time in his career, giving up 4 home runs in a game.
Yeah,
which sucks because I was hyping up this game like it was going to be the pitchers duels of pitchers duels. And then Corbin Burns goes out and dices, and then Zach Wheeler, as I mentioned, gets touched, and it just didn't look as good. But I will say, though, to counter Zach Wheeler getting touched up, the way in which it happened was pretty cool. As you and I were talking about, it was I cannot remember who the 4th home run was, but it was 3 of the Young Bucks in consecutive innings, by the way. It was I think Gunnar had a lead off in the first, and then I want to say it was Kowser in the second, and then Adley in the third. And I can't remember who hit the 4th one off of him. I'm sure we could pull that up, but it's like, yeah, I mean, if Zach Wheeler's going to get touched, at least
Westberg. Yeah, the first 3, right?
Westberg. Yeah, okay.
That was in the 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, at least if he's going to get touched up, at least it was off some just absolute fireworks of some home runs, and it wasn't just stringing hit after hit after hit together. Although I will mention, it was wild to me that Rob Thompson left him out for as long as he did.
I actually had this discussion with my father-in-law, and he was like, "Why is it that happens?" And he loves to follow like the live chat on whatever these apps are. You know what I mean? It's just people just like toxicity, just filling in. Yeah. And just super emotional recency bias comments. And the tough thing is that like, you know, I'm not following these teams to know exactly the way their bullpen shape is, but it's hard for you to want to burn through a bullpen. You know, it's the end of a series. It is your ace. And I think at the very least, you can trust your ace to say, like, if it's not win day, can you eat innings for us and just give us a decent chance? And it is a part of that conversation. And I think that, you know, Rob Thompson being someone old school, Zach Wheeler being who he is, it's like, you know what, I don't have my stuff today, but at the very least, let me, you know, we're going to take the L today, but let me get you some innings. And I don't know. Maybe that's what the game called for. It was still because it was 8-2, I believe, after that Westberg home run in the 5th. Yeah, 8-2. So I mean, like you asked for 5. You know, 6-2. You're like, I don't feel great. It's 4 innings. Like, let me try to settle in. I don't know.
I just hate that it happens to a guy that's like in the Cy Young conversation. Like you mentioned, he's their ace. And it's just, to me, I get what you're saying. I totally agree with the logic that can be applied to so many of these guys.
It's the marathon conversation a little bit.
Right. Like, you know? if you can't get us a win, if this just isn't your day, that you just don't have it, can you give us innings? I get that. But to play devil's advocate, or on the flip side of the conversation, this is a guy whose resume, and I don't know how much or how little a guy like Rob Thompson, or really any manager for that matter, is worrying about a resume for an end of season award, or just like a season award in general.
I doubt it all.
Right. Yeah. But the reality of it is like, this guy is crafting a resume that is going to be dinged up a little bit because of this outing. And based on how the rest of his season goes, we could look back on this game and be like, that ERA, not quite what it could be because of that start back in June where he got hung out to dry.
Did you by chance see MLB Central in London, where it was Wheeler and Nola on the show.
I don't think I caught that.
Couldn't be a more dry conversation. Both of them were so dry.
I could see that.
So what I'm wondering is, like, in a part of this equation, and maybe for sure Rob Thompson knows this answer of the mental toughness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler, are you willing to eat innings, and will this affect your next start? No? Cool. I need this. I need to save the pen. It's get out of town day. I don't know where they're going next, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe there is a little bit of that part where it's like, you can handle this. And if that conversation happened in the dugout too, Wheeler's like, you know what? I don't have my stuff. Looks like we're taking the L, which obviously you're not going to say that, but in so many words, like, you know, this isn't our game. We still need outs. Let me at least go try to get them. And he'll be fine, because that's why I asked about the interview, because it's like, he just seems like a gamer. He seems like he really doesn't care.
Yeah.
It just perfectly makes sense to who the Phillies are, what that mentality is, what that roster does. It's just selfless baseball. So maybe that's a part of it. I don't know.
No,
both of us have good points, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. But you know, the more I think about it as I'm talking through this, you know, maybe it's a thing with Zach Wheeler where he is taking that approach where he's going, you know, I don't have it today. I'm racking up the runs. Clearly, this is just not it for me. I'm going to eat the innings. But what would it say about a guy like Zach Wheeler to where he's like, no, I need to protect, not that he wouldn't say this, but what would it say about his mentality and his belief in his stuff if he felt like he needed to protect his resume off of one start to where he didn't feel like he could bounce back or you know, bring those numbers back down with the rest of his performance because he's that good.
Yeah.
So I'll admit a little reactionary take, and I think a little bit of bias there because he was my Cy Young pick. So I'm going, hey, Rob.
For sure. It was your weekend series to watch. Is a great series. I think all of us fall in love with the moment, and like as a fan, you're like, duh, like this is a potential World Series matchup, potential Cy Young.
That's what I have in the World Series this year.
You know what I mean? So like, I think we both do actually. So I don't think it's crazy to feel that way, but it is definitely like an irrational fan view at times. I think we just maybe got a little caught up in it. Got a little something there.
And I'd be interested to see. I mean, he's obviously had a great year to this point, but I'd be interested to see, you go back and look on some of the more dominant years that Arms have had. Like how many of these bumps?
How many
in the
clunkers?
Road, yeah. How many of these do they have over the course of a full season, assuming they make all their scheduled starts?
And I think as a manager, like after that conversation, you just gotta be like, hey, we got it out of the way. Like we're all gonna have these clunkers. You got yours out of the way, and luckily it's June, and we're in a good shape in the division. Put it behind us. And
it's against the Orioles at the end of the day. Like,
right.
If you're gonna do it, like do it against one of the better teams in the league. I'm cool with it. All right, I got my reactionary take out of the way. I'm better now. I'm a little more level.
We talked it out.
All right, I'm better. Oh, and by the way, for all the people coming at me saying, "Oh, the Phillies fan," I'm still getting that. For all the people saying Phillies fan, I intentionally. I busted open a cool beverage today, and intentionally, and I love having my drinks in a nice big cup of ice. Intentionally took out, and I said, I'm going to mention this on the podcast. I better not forget this. Intentionally chose the Orioles postseason souvenir cup that you and I got last October while I'm watching the Phillies and O's. So all these people out here saying, "Oh, Phillies fan," take that and shove it. Okay. Piped out. You got people calling me an A's fan. People call me a Phillies fan. Like, let's not lose sight of where we're coming from here. If you need a reminder, go back to the beginning of this episode, and we'll make it all. We'll clear up any confusion for you as to where I stand. That's all. Unreal. I'm tired of having to defend my own honor. It's crazy.
I love
man.
it. I love
It's
it.
crazy. Speaking of defending one's honor, Pat Hoberg, Major League umpire, having to coming out. He came out and said, "No, I didn't bet. I didn't get caught up in that. That stuff Shohei and Ippei and David Fletcher and all them were doing. I wasn't doing all that." I think he appealed the decision. Major League Baseball came out and announced Friday that it was disciplining umpire Pat Hoberg for violating the league's gambling rules.
Did we get the details? Were there any in his game? That is a bigger deal to me than any player betting on their own game.
Well, what's crazy is this guy is one of the better umps in baseball. They're
It's a big name.
Little to no signs of there being any sort of like fudging of outcomes. He had if you've been following this news, you've probably heard that this was the guy that had the
perfect.
I say perfect game, had the perfect umpiring game in the 2022 World Series.
I thought it was last year.
No, I think it was 2022. Had the perfect game in Game 2 of 2020. Yeah, the 2022 World Series. Called 129 balls and strikes correctly.
It's a tough one. It's hard to see. You don't love it.
But yeah, he came out and he is I think he is appealing the decision. I don't think they have determined yet whether or not he had bet on baseball. So I don't think that's that's been decided. I don't know if that's out of the picture yet. Either way, I don't know if that's been
I'm curious for those
up.
details. How much and for what sports? It's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, this conversation isn't going to go away. And I think all major sports are in a no-win situation. I don't know how the contracts work, but I'm assuming like DraftKings is paying Major League Baseball to be able to use them in their book. You know what I mean? Like I'm assuming they're getting cutouts or payouts from these big DraftKings, FanDuel, ESPN bets, like whatever it may be. You gotta think that they're getting cuts. So what does it do for a sport to just be like, no, we don't want any of that? They're turning down money, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you would probably know this better than I would. I don't know if Major League Baseball has a designated sports book, because I know I'm reading here that they brought on FanDuel in 2023, so last March, or I guess 2 Marches ago. But then obviously, I mean, DraftKings is involved in a variety
I just feel like
of
it's
aspects.
a licensing thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different from like a third party company getting a licensing deal to put like merchandise out there with logos.
It says here, FanDuel has the right to use official MLB branding and category designations, both in its products, including FanDuel Sportsbook, Daily, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think it's, I don't know. Either way, regardless who's in bed with Major League Baseball, like this is a real thing. Like this, like gambling, betting, sportsbooks, all that. It's embedded not just in baseball but all of sports now. And we talked about this when the whole Shohei thing went down. You can't really come back from this. Like you can't really undo this.
Once it's open, once that door's open, there's no closing it.
You just can't come back from this, because you have people in positions of power who have eyes for nothing but money signs, and they're seeing the dollar signs come in with as we implement more and more gambling into baseball. You're seeing money lines plastered on matchups on every website. And you're seeing in-game like parlays being broken down. It's like, okay,
Sure.
do you really think the people that are benefiting from this are just going to all of a sudden go, yeah, guys, let's dial this back.
No,
we don't want the umpires to get in trouble now.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be a revision of the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many guys got cut from teams in the NFL for smoking weed, and then next thing you knew, the NFL's like, okay, we're cool with weed now, and now they don't test for it. So, like, it makes me wonder, the rules around betting, were they written before FanDuel, DraftKings was like this worldwide thing? Were those rules just like written after Pete Rose and then just untouched since, and then 40 years goes by and now betting is what it is now? Do you revise those rules? Do you reinstate certain players or umpires that break rules at that time? Like, I'm just curious to see how it goes, like what they're going to do moving forward. Or is it just a set in stone thing? And it is like somewhat, I won't say hypocritical, but almost contradictory of, and you make that joke, you know what I mean? Like, you watch a game and you're like, these players can't bet, but this game is brought to you by DraftKings, or this commercial break is brought to you by FanDuel. Like, it is contradictory. I don't know. But it is, I mean, it's an issue in the NFL too. There's definitely been some guys that have been cut. But again, you can't close that door. It's open now.
It's just silly, man. It's like you mentioned, you come back from break. This game is brought to you by DraftKings. Here we're gonna look at we're gonna do a little bit of a deep dive here. We got Max Fried at over. We're setting the line at 5.5 Ks on for today's matchup. Ozzy Albies 1.5 total bases. Oh, by the way, breaking news: Shohei Ohtani swept up in a gambling scandal. I just hope that people see that it's not so black and white. Like, this is trickling into baseball. I say trickling. It's
floodgates.
The floodgates have opened again, not just with baseball, but all of sports. And I got to give the leagues credit. Like, I'm sure that once those floodgates open, they're sitting there going, okay, well, we wanted this to be a part of it, but like, that we got lines being crossed, we got things like you mentioned being contradictory. There's just way too much that I think the league is trying to balance to where they don't look like they're stepping on their own toes, or that they're going against what was already in place rule wise or legislation wise. And that's a tough ask.
It is. It's going to be interesting moving forward. It's going to be really strange. And I'm curious to see what like the player associations for these leagues start doing. You know what I mean? Like an argument there. Like, how does this trickle down to college sports, college athletes? Like, all of this stuff it's a part of the equation. And for these entities or organizations to receive a cut, and players not getting their cut and not allowed to bet, that's going to become an issue. Player associations are going to start fighting for that.
It all comes back to people wanting money.
Yep, every time.
That's the reality of it. We're all guilty of it.
And another reason for, one of many revenue streams coming into these organizations that complain about payroll and complain about not having enough money. They have plenty of revenue streams coming through the door.
Crazy. That's all I got, my friend. 442 in the books. You got anything that you'd like to part with before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Happy Father's Day. I mean, all the dads out there. Hope you guys had a good day. Maybe you and I will get there someday. I'm sure it's coming at some point.
I was at church this morning, and they said they said, "Hey, we got a gift for all the dads out there in the lobby. In fact, not just for the dads, just any men in attendance today. And be sure to grab it before you leave." And it was beef jerky and a back scratcher.
There you go.
And they came up afterwards and they were handing out the extras. I'm like, I just feel weird taking this, you know? Like, I want to be ushered into fatherhood the right way. I want all of the awesome stuff that comes with being a dad that I've heard.
I agree.
At the right time. I don't want it early.
Dude, it's funny enough. Paige and I had the same type of conversation today. She was like, "Have you heard the new Luke Combs album?" And I'm like, "No,
Yeah,
it's
I heard
literally
about that.
all about father and son." So no, I haven't.
It's
Like,
it's crazy,
all I see
man.
are videos of dads crying listening to it. I'm like, it's not gonna hit. So maybe I'll just wait, revisit this album later.
Maybe I'll drop like a review video on YouTube like years later after everybody's already heard it on repeat.
I get it now. I get it.
This is the greatest album. Has anybody heard of this yet? It's crazy.
Yeah. But anywho, happy new week, ladies and gents. Let's get after it.
Let's get it.
Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.